Because of a deadly viral outbreak, a convoy of buses transports survivors from the cities to a quarantine zone called Harmony. Just before reaching the main gate, the convoy suddenly comes to a stop. One of the soldiers gets off the bus to investigate what happened. After several minutes with no response, an officer from the bus behind tries to contact him, but there's only silence. Concerned, the officer decides to look for him himself. After walking only a short distance, the missing soldier suddenly appears and viciously bites the officer in the neck. The infected soldier then boards the bus, but Jack and Patrick quickly force him back outside. Once the infected soldier disappears, Jack decides to retrieve the fallen officer's weapon. As he's reaching for the gun, the dead soldier suddenly comes back to life and attacks him. Jack manages to shoot the zombie, but then notices several more infected soldiers approaching, forcing him to hide underneath the bus. Meanwhile, Patrick struggles to keep the bus doors shut as panic spreads among the passengers. People rush toward the rear exit, desperate to escape. The zombies burst into the bus through the doors and windows, infecting everyone they can reach. Patrick fights his way toward his wife, Emma, but is attacked by a zombie. He repeatedly slams its head against the side of the bus until it finally dies. Nearby, Emma clutches her baby tightly while hiding from the zombies. Believing she's finally safe, she climbs into a nearby jeep, but a zombie suddenly appears and grabs her. As she struggles to escape, another infected creature begins smashing the windshield to reach her. Fortunately, Jack arrives just in time and kills both zombies. Emma is covered in blood and trembling, but Jack and Patrick can't find any injuries on her. Moments later, they discover the blood isn't hers. It's from another woman who had been bitten on the arm. 9 years later, Patrick wanders through the abandoned, snow-covered city in search of food. After shooting a horse, he loads its body onto his sled and quietly returns home. From the house next door, a little girl named Lou watches Patrick through the window and tells Jack that Patrick has killed another animal. While Patrick cooks the horse meat, Jack opens a can of beans, only to discover it's spoiled with mold. Luckily, he finds another can that's still good. That night, Patrick tries contacting other survivors over the radio, but no one answers. Left completely alone, he pretends he's having a conversation with an imaginary guest. Later, he looks through his binoculars and watches Jack tuck Lou into bed, wishing her goodnight, and quietly hoping she can somehow hear him. The following morning, Jack wakes up and immediately checks Lou's bed, only to find it empty. He rushes into the kitchen, where he finds her trying to make breakfast by herself. She explains that she didn't want to wake him, but Jack reminds her that there are rules she has to follow. Jack gives her a cookie, which she secretly slips into her pocket before asking for another. Meanwhile, Patrick wakes up to his dog's barking and lets it outside. Lou approaches the dog at the fence and feeds it the cookie. When the dog runs to another part of the fence, she discovers it has dug a hole large enough to crawl through. Later that day, Jack teaches Lou how to shoot without relying only on her fingers. He then goes outside and practices by firing at an empty can. Watching him, Lou asks if she can try shooting too, but Jack refuses to let her hold the gun. She complains that she's too old to keep playing with dolls and asks Jack to play with her instead. As Jack enjoys spending time with Lou, he notices Patrick returning from a supply run but chooses not to greet him. That evening, Jack gives Lou a small box filled with items that once belonged to her mother. Smiling, she asks what the occasion is. Before he can answer, the sound of a birthday song begins playing through Patrick's loudspeakers. Patrick has baked Lou a birthday cake, but because of the bitter conflict between him and Jack, he can't bring himself to deliver it. Instead, he lets his dog eat the cake. At the same time, Lou asks Jack what birthday parties were like before the end of the world. Jack tells her they used to be filled with lots of children, but Lou doubts him because she has never seen another child in her entire life. She then realizes she can't even remember seeing her own mother. Jack gently explains that she was too young to remember her. Later, Lou asks if zombies were ever real, and Jack tells her they once existed but eventually froze to death in the brutal cold. That night, Lou falls asleep peacefully while Jack remains awake, unable to rest because of the loud music blasting from Patrick's speakers. Sometime later, Lou wakes from a nightmare after hearing the dog barking. She looks out the window and is horrified to see a pale-faced zombie standing just outside the fence. The next morning, Jack finds Lou hiding under the bed, refusing to come out. He crawls underneath with her and gently asks what's wrong. Lou tells him she saw a monster the night before. Jack assumes it was just a nightmare, but Lou insists she saw a real zombie after she woke up. Still, Jack doesn't believe her and explains that all the zombies died years ago because of the freezing cold. Later that day, Lou places one of her stuffed toys next to the hole beneath the fence, hoping it will keep the monsters from coming through. When Patrick sees her standing by the fence, he realizes she's the one who's been feeding his dog cookies. He warns her that giving the dog too many treats could make it sick. Just then, Jack comes outside and orders Patrick to stay away from Lou and stop talking to her. He even threatens to shoot Patrick's dog if it keeps barking. Patrick quietly calms the dog before heading to an abandoned warehouse to search for supplies. Inside the warehouse, Patrick remembers the time he was there with Emma. Back then, he had made too much noise, and Emma begged him to keep quiet so they wouldn't attract the zombies. Patrick bitterly asked if she had given Jack the same warning when she cheated on him. While searching the warehouse, Patrick spots a doll he thinks Lou would love and takes it off a shelf. Moments later, he discovers the bloody remains of several animals scattered across the floor. Before he can react, a savage zombie suddenly appears and chases him through the building. Patrick and his dog barely escape, locking the warehouse door behind them and trapping the creature inside. As Patrick starts his snowmobile, the zombie pounds violently on the locked door, trying to break free. While speeding away, Patrick keeps looking over his shoulder to make sure the creature isn't following him. Distracted, he fails to notice a fallen tree in his path and crashes into it. Meanwhile, Jack decides it's finally time to teach Lou how to use a handgun. The recoil knocks her backward when she fires her first shot, but she laughs and tells Jack she actually enjoyed it. Back at the crash site, Patrick is still lying on the ground when the zombie reaches him. Surprisingly, the creature doesn't notice him, suggesting that it's blind. A distant gunshot suddenly echoes through the forest, and the zombie immediately runs toward the sound, leaving Patrick behind. Back at the house, Jack spots a rabbit outside the fence and prepares to shoot it. Just before pulling the trigger, he hears another gunshot and sees Patrick racing toward him, shouting for him to get back inside immediately. Patrick drives his snowmobile straight into the zombie, knocking it down. But as he reaches for his gun, he falls, giving the creature a chance to attack him. Lou begs Jack to shoot the monster, but instead, Jack orders her to run inside and lock the door. Patrick struggles desperately to avoid being bitten while Jack aims his pistol at the zombie. However, he hesitates for just a moment too long. The zombie overpowers Patrick and bites him in the neck. Patrick's loyal dog charges at the creature to protect him, but the zombie quickly overcomes the dog as well and bites it in the neck. Patrick finally grabs his gun and shoots the zombie, forcing it to retreat. At the same time, Jack rushes back into the house, where Lou angrily confronts him for refusing to shoot the zombie before it killed the dog. Outside, Patrick breaks down in tears over the loss of his faithful companion. He blames the dog for trying to be a hero before carrying it home. Once inside, he pours alcohol over his wound and attempts to take his own life by shooting himself, but he can't bring himself to do it, and collapses onto the floor. As he lies there, Patrick remembers the day Emma encouraged him to cut off her infected arm while Jack held her still to help save her. Moments later, Patrick regains consciousness when he hears someone calling over the radio. He answers immediately and tells the stranger that the zombies have returned. He also admits that he was bitten earlier that morning. The man replies that Patrick may not turn into a zombie after all because so much time has already passed since the bite. Patrick promises that he'll go out and kill the zombie, but the radio signal begins breaking up. Before the transmission cuts off completely, the mysterious voice tells him that the creature isn't truly responsible for what happened to him, adding that Patrick's neighbors should have helped him instead. The following morning, Jack seals up the house, convinced that Patrick will soon become a zombie. But Lou insists Patrick wasn't infected when she saw him and angrily reminds Jack that he refused to believe her when she warned him about the monster the night before. Jack tries to calm her down by giving her 2 cookies, but Lou quietly reveals that the second cookie was meant for Patrick's dog. She then says she wishes she could go outside to pick flowers for her mother without having to ask permission. Jack gently refuses, explaining that the zombie has returned and it's no longer safe outside. Later, Jack goes outside himself to gather a few flowers and discovers the doll lying on the ground. He immediately realizes that Patrick had brought it for Lou. That same day, the mysterious voice on the radio begins urging Patrick to kill Jack. Patrick refuses, and the voice mocks him for still caring about Jack, even after Jack had abandoned Emma and let her die. That night, Jack returns home and tells Lou that he could only find artificial flowers. Lou splits the bouquet in half, placing one part in front of her mother's photo. Then she grabs a handgun, crawls through the hole beneath the fence, and takes the other half to the dog's grave. As soon as Jack notices her heading toward the grave, he rushes outside after her. While Lou is laying the flowers down, a zombie suddenly approaches. She tries to shoot it, but the creature knocks the gun out of her hands. Jack immediately tackles the zombie and beats it relentlessly. Before it finally dies, the creature manages to slash Jack across the chest. Jack continues attacking it until it stops moving completely. While Jack is checking on Lou, Patrick suddenly appears with his gun raised. Instead of aiming at Jack, he shoots the zombie sneaking up behind him, saving his life. Later that night, Jack discovers that Lou is missing from her bed and goes outside to search for her. Suddenly, he's attacked by a zombie whose arms have been torn off and whose body is dragging across the ground. Patrick arrives and explains that the zombies are evolving. Their wounds heal, their skin has become much thicker, and they can withstand gunfire far better than before. However, he also reveals they now have weaknesses. They're no longer contagious, and they've completely lost their eyesight. When Lou comes out of Patrick's house, Jack immediately takes her back home. Soon afterward, Lou uses the radio to invite Patrick over for dinner the following evening, and Patrick happily accepts. Patrick prepares for the dinner by shaving his beard and cutting his hair. The next night, he arrives carrying fresh meat as a gift for Jack and Lou. Jack then hands the doll back to Patrick so he can give it to Lou himself. When Lou comes downstairs, she's surprised by how different Patrick looks without his beard and long hair. During dinner, she happily plays with her new doll and asks Patrick how he knew she wanted one just like it. Patrick smiles and says he simply had a feeling she'd love it because he used to enjoy that kind of toy when he was a child. As Patrick tells stories about his childhood, Lou quietly says he was lucky because he got to play with other children, while she's only ever had dolls to play with. After Lou goes to sleep, Patrick tells Jack that he's planning to repair the truck so they can finally leave. Jack, however, insists on staying, despite Patrick's warning that more zombies are coming. Patrick tells him that he's been so focused on surviving that he's forgotten how to truly live. Jack asks Patrick why he stayed there all these years instead of leaving. Patrick simply looks toward Lou, silently revealing that she's the reason he never left. After Patrick returns home, Jack sits beside Lou and remembers the day Emma died. On that day, he found Patrick drunk and lying on the floor while baby Lou cried in her crib. When Patrick asked where Emma was, Jack punched him in anger, accusing him of letting her die. He then picked up Lou and told Patrick that he was no longer her father. That night, Lou wakes from another nightmare. Jack assumes she dreamed about monsters, but she quietly tells him that in her dream, Jack died and left her all alone. The following morning, Jack and Lou decide to leave the house and join Patrick. Together, the three of them leave Harmony behind and stop at an abandoned warehouse to gather supplies. As Patrick steps out of the truck, he remembers the day he abandoned Emma outside that very warehouse so he could drink, consumed by jealousy over Jack. While Emma cried inside the truck, the zombies arrived and attacked her. After collecting supplies, the group heads back to the truck but spots a woman standing alone in the distance. When Patrick approaches her, she is completely hysterical. He gently takes her hand and calms her down. Instead of continuing their journey, they bring her back to the house. Once the woman recovers, she tells them her story. She explains that when the outbreak began, she and her family locked themselves inside their home. A year later, they traveled north and joined another group of survivors. There, she fell in love with a man and became pregnant with his child, but he died before he ever learned he was going to be a father. She goes on to explain that they later joined a convoy heading toward the valley, but every member of the group was killed during a zombie attack, leaving her as the sole survivor. Suddenly, the woman hears the feral zombie letting out a haunting howl. She grabs her gun and rushes outside, warning Patrick that the creatures use those calls to communicate with one another. Moments later, more zombie howls echo through the distance. Realizing what's happening, everyone quickly locks up the house and prepares their weapons. When the zombies arrive, Jack takes Lou down into the basement and tells her not to make a single sound. As she quietly moves through the basement, she comes face to face with a zombie but manages to avoid being discovered by staying perfectly silent. Before long, more creatures begin breaking into the house. Upstairs, a zombie chases Jack into a room. While trying to keep the creature from getting inside, he accidentally drops his gun. Meanwhile, in the basement, Lou places her doll inside a wooden chest and deliberately knocks over a lantern to create a loud noise. The zombie immediately jumps into the chest to investigate the sound, allowing Lou to slam the lid shut and trap the creature inside. Upstairs, Jack sees another zombie trying to climb through the window. He shoots the creature at the door and then tries to fire at the second one, but he runs out of ammunition. Realizing he has no choice, he stays completely silent to avoid attracting the zombie's attention. While Patrick battles one of the zombies downstairs, the woman turns on loud music, knowing the creatures have extremely sensitive hearing. A short time later, Lou comes upstairs and tells Patrick there's another monster in the basement. Patrick tells her to stay in the room where she keeps her radio. As Patrick and the others continue fighting the zombies, Lou hears a woman speaking over the radio. Then the generator runs out of fuel, the music suddenly stops, and everyone realizes they don't have enough ammunition left. Just before the power goes out completely, Lou hears the woman on the radio tell her to head for Spring Falls. As the creatures begin overrunning the house, Patrick tells Jack that he'll distract the zombies so everyone else can escape. After kissing Lou goodbye, he lights a flare, takes Jack's rifle, and heads outside. He fires at the zombies and shouts at the top of his lungs, drawing every creature toward him. While Jack, Lou, and the woman reach the truck, Patrick runs towards several fuel barrels. As a zombie attacks him, he ignites the leaking gasoline, sacrificing himself in a massive explosion that kills both him and the zombies. After leaving Harmony behind, Jack, Lou, and the woman stop along the roadside to watch the sunrise. And that's how the movie ends. Thanks for watching, and don't forget that your opinion matters. Be sure to leave a comment and subscribe to the channel.